Hey everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. This episode to be studying a piece by the established 3D artist known as Danny Ivan. And in this episode, we're to be looking at this pristine, crystalline texture, and we're also going to look at the incredible realism of the digital render. So let's jump right into it. So whenever you first see this work, we see two translucent forms overlaid one upon another here. Your first impression is likely one of awe due to the incredible kind of crystalline nature of these forms at hand. And so, of course, you'll notice one of the most definitive elements of this piece is light and texture. We look at texture here, we see this very strange, of course it is solid, but it also feels quite fluid, right? You'll look at the forms of these subjects, even though they are rigid, they have this, curve to them that almost implies motion, yet they are completely rigid and solid before our eyes. So this texture, it is glossy, it is translucent, it is smooth, and it does an incredible job of immersing us within the realism of the work at hand here. Of course, the digital render does that quite masterfully, right? Another thing you may notice is the impact of light. Of course, this is one of the most definitive elements of this display, and we see this quite clearly, right? Most of it is this kind of purplish, almost pink accent there. Of course, you do have some green and blue as well. It possesses this piece and, of course, possesses the form with this vivid visual energy that gives us an incredible sense of motion through light there as well. And so, of course, there's no doubt that we see this kind of crystalline gemstone or glass texture before us here. And this is quite interesting. The title of this work is Glass Ribbon, so we can imply that this is going to be glass, but the nature of glass, of course, it is translucent. It reminds of gemstones or crystals as well. And this aesthetic is just, it is beyond words, and it's absolutely stunning. So, crystals and glass and gemstones, they act as catalysts of light. So when you put them up to the light, it's going to intensify that by nature of their form. So you can think of early humans, discovering gemstones, discovering crystals, and then ultimately being able to create glass. And of course, it has this, magical charm to it. There is just no doubt about that. And so, like I said, the title of this work is Glass Ribbon. And so we talked about those translucent forms that are kind of overlaid one upon another. I think that's incredibly interesting. There is this sense of motion and flow to the work at hand, but it seems quite solid. So unique juxtaposition that's displayed there, and of course contrasts that absolutely well. And you can imagine if someone were to shatter this before our eyes, we would cringe, but also marvel at the incredible sight before us here. So I think that's stunning, and I think that's incredibly important as well. Glass, gemstones, and of course crystals are some of the purest examples of order which we have. Of course, this gives a sense of harmony and inspires the masses with absolute ease. So this is a stunning piece. There is no doubt about that. With that in mind, what do y'all see when you view this piece, or how do you feel when you view this piece? That's a pretty interesting question. I think is important to the work at hand here. And so this is a digital render, so it has, of course, incredible realism. And I believe the digital rendering program used here is going to be Cinema 4D, so quite a professional program. I see a lot of pros using it for advertisements as well as their kind of personal portfolio. So, of course, an incredible program, and highly realistic at that, right? So I actually brought in two other pieces from the original artist here. We're going to bring those in, see what we can learn real quick and kind of compare to the original work before us here. Alright, so I brought two additional pieces from Danny Ivan. Of course, working in the medium of digital render, you see the absolute realism in all three instances of these pieces. Of course, it is incredibly realistic, and it immerses us within that quite masterfully. What I see across Ivan's portfolio, of course, is using this kind of sense of light and texture, a sense of flowing form as well in all of these instances. It's absolutely stunning. And we see, of course, that implies motion not only through the curved nature of the forms, but it also implies motion through that sense of light and texture as well. So it's absolutely stunning. I wanted to bring those in real quick just to kind of compare and see what Danny Ivan's working with. Almost his entire portfolio is working with these kind of crystalline, flowing forms, of course, always in the medium of digital render, so incredibly realistic as well. So yeah, I really hope y'all enjoyed today. It's an absolutely stunning piece. There is no doubt about that. We have a purest example of harmony before us here. We talked about so many different things, from the impact of texture, light, form, of course, the realism of the digital rendering. Of course, we even explored what it might be if this shattered before our eyes as well. So I really hope y'all enjoyed today. I know I did. This was a great piece of study. A rather simple, minimalist piece, but it still has that vivid sense of visual energy, and I always love to look at crystals, gemstones, and of course, glass forms more broadly. So, really hope y'all enjoyed today. If y'all enjoyed this episode, go check out the original artist Danny Ivan, like I said, doing some amazing stuff in the world of the digital rendering. My name is Apollo, this was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.